It is Saturday, and that means it's time for another Spirit Talk. And today I'm going to be talking about how to hear God. Welcome to Spirit Talk by Free Legions, a platform for those who love God and seek fellowship without crippling judgment, without the human control systems, and without the religious ways of the world. So come join us as we dig into spiritual issues that are related to our everyday life. So here we are, it's another Saturday, and I'm going to be digging into the exciting topic of how to hear God. And how did I get to this stage? Well, it is, a natural continuum of my last shows, because I've been talking about, gathering the body of Christ and sheep and how to follow Christ. And if you are to follow Christ, you have to hear him or see him or, notice him in some kind of way. Yes, you can follow the scriptures, but still, it has to be words that are soaked in the Spirit. It's not enough to just follow a structured manual, like some rules. If you read the Bible, you should know that, because that is kind of like what Christ came to point out. And so it also says in the Bible that my sheep hear my voice and they know me. And that means that we are supposed to hear him. And still so many people, they are kind of like, I don't hear what God is saying. I don't know. And so there's a lot of seeking and a lot of confusion related to this topic of hearing God. A lot of people do claim to hear him and put too much into the box, like God told me this and God said so and so. And a lot of people hear him, but they don't understand that it's him. So this is a topic that, is on a lot of people's hearts. They really want to hear God. And it is also something that is being used a little bit recklessly, like not really understanding the big consequences of claiming that we are hearing from God and telling others what God is saying and things like that. I have a lot to say about these things, so I do believe I will end up making a series of shows on this topic, different angles of it. But today I will start, and I'm actually going to start by saying that spiritual lessons and spiritual life is very connected to spiritual food. Because we walk through life and we digest the things that we are served, and it's all about serving, isn't it? And every single day we get our daily bread. And that bread is not always so easy to chew on. It is not always what we expected. And I know the bread is supposed to be the word, but it's also the things that we encounter and allow to come into us and form us and change us. The things that we see every single day. A new task, a new angle, a new challenge. There's so many things. And as I'm speaking about spiritual food, that of course is a metaphor. But if we think in those, in those terms, think of going into a restaurant and they have a wild menu they have so many things on the menu. Now, I've eaten quite a lot of strange things in my life. There's quite a bit of things I have not tasted, but I have tasted grilled intestines. It's pretty good. I didn't know what it was when I tasted it. And I have tasted brain, like, sheep brain soup. I'm sorry, but, a friend of mine was going to eat it. I heard what it was, and I was kind of like, oh, I gotta taste that. Not because I suspected it would be so good, but it was the challenge of tasting something new, just doing it once. And I did. I'm not going to do it again. And I've tasted camel sausage. Pretty strange. Not my favorite, but not bad. And also, we have a tradition in my area where they serve, well, it's kind of like smoked and salted and grilled sheep's head. Again, poor sheep, they're so cute and it's so good, but it's really a little bit of that Viking barbaric sort of thing. And then on the other hand, there are basic things that I've never tasted. I have never tasted cappuccino. I was quite up in my 20s before I tasted a lot of basic stuff like certain types of cheese and, well, there's all these different things and we have our own flavors, don't we? I like this kind of food, somebody else, they prefer something else. I don't think there's a big chance of me tasting snails, for example. Not gonna happen. But still, a restaurant is a restaurant and they have their menu. And if the master of that restaurant, if the chef, the big one that is deciding what goes on the menu and not, is our creator, well then, whatever is on that menu is kind of like for us, whether we like it or not, isn't it? And so it is a terrifying thought to go into a restaurant with a menu that could include anything. And you have no say in what's going to be put on your plate. Today, tomorrow, and the next day. But still, isn't that kind of like our daily bread? Isn't that kind of like how we are walking with God? Like, today, I'm getting this thing. And tomorrow, you are bringing me something different. And I've said, yes, I want what you bring. Even though I have no idea what you're gonna bring. And it's like a child. Sometimes we get medicine, sometimes we get stuff we don't want. But there's trust to the parent that, okay, if you are bringing me something really nasty today, then I trust it is because it is good for me in the long run. I might cry, I might reject it, I might say no thank you and run away or try, but still, if I really follow Christ, if I really love God, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna eat it, chew on it, and let it work in me. And that is how I see living with God. Him being the chef, serving us our daily bread every single day. Who knows? Tomorrow it might be monkey brain. Or perhaps, grilled snakes. We don't know. But if it is so, then we have kind of like given up and said, okay, I want your way. If you want me to eat something and digest and chew on something that is so uncomfortable, so disgusting, so not what I want, then I trust that you have a good purpose for that. That He will equip me and prepare me for what is coming later on and the things that you wish for me to walk into, to use me for, to to allow me to be a tool for you in some kind of way. And so it is an exciting way of living, and it is also a little bit terrifying if you really, really understand the concept. And if you look in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, but also the New Testament, because, all of these disciples, they ended up not with the kind of fairy tale ending that you see in Disneyland. And so we know that if you say yes to really, really trusting the author of this, then everything's on the menu. There's not much that has been left out. And so it ends up again with a trust and a willingness to go beyond our comfort zone. Now, why am I bringing up this? I mean, am I not supposed to talk about hearing God? Oh yes, I am. And this is the basis of hearing God, because if you walk into a restaurant and you want French fries, and perhaps chicken, or it could be hamburger, that's okay, just as long as it's snacky and good, and then your expectation is gonna limit how much you hear God, how much you hear what He really has on the menu. Because if you say with your lips, yeah, I want to do God's will, yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that, is it going to be French fries or is it going to be hamburger? I am so excited to see. But what you didn't know is that He might have wanted to serve seashells and, some foreign fruits that you've never seen, or bitter herbs. We don't know. And part of hearing God, the basis for hearing God, is to go to that spot of nothingness, of zero, go to scratch, and put everything on the table and say, okay, I give in. My desires doesn't matter. My will, it doesn't matter. My opinions, perspectives, expectations, it doesn't matter. Because I want what you have. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like a fairy tale and a projection sort of thing, like, oh yeah, I'm getting the French fries. That's something artificial that I could create, but I don't want that. I want whatever you have. And so I have to erase and delete everything that I have before I can really see and hear and get to know what you have. Now that is the stage, that is the beginning of having a white paper, a white clean slate, where a new beginning can start, and God can start from scratch and show you what He wants. Now, if you had the expectation, like the expectation of French fries and hamburgers, and He brought in a spicy thing, then you would read it in the context of the French fries, like, oh yeah, you're gonna have that spice, like it's gonna taste good on my French fries. That's what we do. We get a little piece and we put it into the perspective of our context, our expectation, our doctrine, our desire. And so there's a little bit of truth, there's a little bit of God, but we kind of like hijacked it and put it in the wrong context. Perhaps that spice that He brought in was supposed to be a part of a soup. But you never heard that, did you? Or I never heard that. If I was too focused, too assuming in my mind, too confident that, yeah, it's going to be the way that I expect it to be. And this is why I've been talking about perception, communication, and digging deep, and all of these things in my former shows, because it is building up. It is connected. It is the filters and the bits and the pieces that are blocking our connection and our interface to God. And the more that we have clutter and opinions and stuff, well, the less clear we're going to hear him. We may hear him, but it's going to be mixed up with our stuff. And trust me, we're never ever going to be done cleaning out our stuff. So it's always going to be some fragments of our lesser self in it. I firmly believe that even the prophets in the Old Testament, they were also mixing in parts of their own perceptions and assumptions and stuff, because they are humans. And you know from, well, is it Elijah? I mix Elijah and Elisha, the names. But one of them was kind of like sulking, I am the only prophet left, and things like that. But that wasn't true. But it was his perception. And so we see so many times in the Bible that people are human. And even as a vessel, like a prophetic vessel for God, there is humanness, like wanting to flee away after you deliver this big message from God, and you get scared, and it's kind of like, oh boy, I gotta run. And so this is why I bring up this menu, because it is by us being desperate and desperately willing to take anything that God has, that we may truly hear him. And the amount that we are desperate to hear and know truth is the amount that we are going to find it. And it says in the Bible that God has the pleasure of concealing mysteries and matters from men. But it's not because he wants it to be hidden, but it's kind of like a game, a hide and seek game, to see who cares enough to seek it out. Because it also says in the Bible that kings, well, they seek out these mysteries. And that is something that he treasures. He wants us to grow in understanding and knowing of him. And so he puts up these traps. And it's not because he wants to trap us, but it's part of testing us. Do you really want truth or not? And if you are happy with the half-truths, if you're happy with a Disney story that ends perfectly and everything is pink and nice and glossy, then he's not going to stop you. Then fine, you stay there. But if you want to get closer into the core, into the reality of his presence and nature, and, the truth behind the curtains of life and all there is, then we have to dig deeper than that, and we have to face our own life lies. It is by us saying that, okay, I am willing, God, to take everything and anything you have on this menu. And I know it's going to be confusing for me. It's going to be hard. It's going to be turning my life perhaps upside down in some areas. And perhaps it's going to be uncomfortable, scary. Perhaps it's not going to be much of what I wanted or hoped for. And perhaps I'll feel like crap, and perhaps it will last for quite a while. But I'm still willing, because I am desperate to tear down all of these things that are causing me to be distant from you. I am willing to go through whatever it takes to have oneness with you, to hear your voice, to be close to you, to see the world and myself the way you see it, and to hear your opinion about things, your path, your will, and your mission for me and for others. I mean, when you are desperate to know these things, then that desperation is going to be parallel to, the amount that you get it. If you don't want it that much, you're going to stop on the way and say, well, this is good enough. I'm comfortable here. It's okay. Yeah, I love God. And there's nothing wrong about that. I mean, we have free will, and we're probably not all of us supposed to go on the top of Mount Everest. There's not going to be space for all of us there at the same time. But then again, if you really, really want the raw essence of God, if you really want to get into the core, you really have to give up things that you may miss, and you may be able or willing to change the way you see everything, the way you see life, the way you see God, the way you see the Bible, the way you see other people, the way you see yourself. So you can see that this is challenging, and this is the scene where the biggest battles are going on and the biggest lies are going on, because we may have fake news, we may have, corrupt world and all of these things, but it is what is going on the inside that is kind of like allowing us to fall into it, or to believe in it, or to be trapped in it. And perhaps it is these inner things that are kind of like causing the outer things. Not that me believing a lie is suddenly going to turn into fake news, but when whole populations and a whole world cling to lies, then it is natural that the outer world will reflect that, isn't it? So, we come to the hen and the chicken and the egg, these kind of things, what comes first, and I do believe there's a connection. I think it can go both ways, yes. And I do believe that the only thing that we really have power over is ourselves and what we do on the inside. We can control, some elements in the world. We can start propagandas and, do things in the outer world, definitely, and we should. However, there's a two-sided story. We can probably not be more effective in the outer world than we are digging in and doing a work in the inner world. And, that's another story. It is interesting indeed. But getting back into this topic of hearing God, that daily bread that we are given, it is not just, reading in the Bible. It is not just a metaphor for food and survival. It is also that daily bread, that word from God that is for you today. And every day there's a new piece of the cake, so to say. There's a new step, there's a new fragment to chew on, to work on. And it is by taking this serious that we can walk with God and grow in Him and with Him. And so you may say, but I don't know what my step is today. I don't know what He's saying to me today. And I will get closer. I mean, I will go into that in shows later on. But for right now, I want you to think of the things that you fear. The things that you are not willing to let go of. The things that you well, that is just too outrageous. That could not be of God, that kind of attitude, or your willingness, like how far are you willing to go? How far are you willing to stretch yourself to hear truth? Would you be willing to go to a nation where terrorists were lingering, like ISIS areas and stuff like that? If God asked you to, would you go? I mean, that is one question. If you're not willing to do that, then are you kind of like saying that, okay, God, I want your spiritual food, I want your menu, but just not this and this and this and this, because I have an allergy against that, and this one I don't like. And so, we're back to the French fries and the hamburger. Which one is gonna be God? I want the French fries. Can I get that? That is not how we hear God, right? That is how we dictate God, and God doesn't play by those rules. He has his own rules and he has his own will, and it is for us to tune into that and not the other way. And so for us to really, really be able to hear God, I can't say this enough, we have to be quiet, be still, and know that I am God. We have to still our opinions, our thoughts, our emotions, our fears, our desires, our assumptions, our expectations, and all the clutter that is damming up the mirror that we're supposed to be. Like cleansing the silver, it says in the Bible, and that is like when you have cleansed that properly, you're gonna be a mirror and you're gonna see and hear and know what he is communicating. And it is like a piano. If you have a lot of music going on, a lot of noise from this and that, the outer and the inner world, everything is going on, then you're not going to be able to sense the vibrations of the tones that God is playing, are you? No, most likely not. And so again, it is about being still and being willing. And if you are still, if you have cleansed yourself and come to that point where there's nothing else making noises, and we're not just talking about physical noises, I'm talking about all the things that I've mentioned so far. But if you come to that place and you are willing and you are still, then if God speaks, then you will be able to absorb that and understand that and take it. But if you are not there and God speaks, even if you hear him, you may disregard it and say, no, that couldn't be from God. And that is a real pity, don't you think? It is time for the Norwegian word of the day. Yippee! Today's word is going to be related to the topic of course, and it's going to be a funny thing that we have in Norway. And before I go into it, I just have to share a little bit about the Norwegian culture, because we do have a really, really strong thing about honesty. Norwegians are known in foreign nations for being a people of integrity and honesty. We are fair and just. And so dealing with Norwegians are usually a good thing. We keep our words and we take pride in that. We are also a country where we trust each other because almost everyone, they are people you can trust. And there are people that lie and cheat and do stuff, of course, but it's not as common as in other places. And if they do something bad, they usually admit it. It's kind of like, yeah, I did that. So there is a different kind of culture. And I see that culture as a very, very good thing, and most Norwegians do the same. We take pride in that. And because of that, there is also a thing where we, well, I don't know, chicken and egg, I don't know which came first, but our language is reflecting this very topic. Because it is as if in Norwegian, love is associated to honesty. And I couldn't agree more. How can you be loving and love somebody if you are not honest? I mean, even the Bible tells us that evil is a lie, and a lie steals and kills and destroys. That is what the devil is doing. He's lying and twisting, and through that he's destroying, killing, and robbing. And so why am I saying these things? Well, I am saying it this way because we have two words in Norwegian that are very similar, and I'm going to teach you the word for honesty. And then I will show you how similar that word is to love, which is, well, I like it. I do believe it is telling a story, and that story I'm proud of. That story I really agree with. So, honesty is ærlighet. It is starting with a strange letter, a Norwegian letter, which is a mix of A and E. We pronounce it A, and then it's followed up by R, L, I, G, H, E, T. Ærlighet. And then we come to the part where it turns into love. In front of ærlighet, or ærlig, like, okay, I'm gonna say this again. Ærlig, that is to be honest. Ærlighet, that is honesty. And then, if you put K and J in front of that, you get kjærlig, which is loving, and kjærlighet, which is love. And so you see that love and honesty is almost the same thing. And you cannot, based on the language, you simply cannot have love without having honesty. Because the basis, the root of the word love is based on honesty. And isn't that what it's like in life also? You cannot have love without honesty. You cannot base any loving relation on a lie. Even if it's just an illusion, even if it's just ignorance, it needs to be based on truth and honesty. So that was my little talk about the Norwegian language, and I think it tells, an incredible story. It's so simple. Honesty and love, they are building on each other. You can't have one without the other. And that is so at the heart of God. And as I'm taking this back now to the Bible and to the context of hearing God, well, isn't it so that if we really love God, then isn't it so that we should long and yearn for truth, both about ourselves, about life, and about Him? Honesty. Because if we do not long for His truth, then we are longing for or clinging to a lie. And that lie is keeping us away from love and Him, basically, because He is the source of love. And while we may be seeking truth and while we may be seeking love, we will always have bits and pieces inside of us that are still dark. that we haven't shed light on yet, we haven't become aware of yet. But that is part of the daily bread. A daily dose for growing, maturing, something to chew on, something to investigate and be shaped and transformed by. And bit by bit, we grow, we are purified, we are sanctified as we take these commands and instructions and allow it to work in us. And you may not know exactly, okay, what did God say today? But as I said, I will go back into that later on. But until then, I just want you to know that even if you don't know what God is saying today, He is leading you still. You are on the path where He has put you, and if you seek Him constantly, then He knows how to lead you. You can say to Him, okay, God, I want anything and everything you got for me. I know that I might be signing up for something that I might regret a little bit later on, but if I see the big picture, I'm not going to regret anyway. I know that. I trust you. So please, make it your way. And even if you don't hear Him all the time, every single time you have a choice, look up, think of Him, focus on Him, and say, I want your will. I would like French fries, but I know you may have different plans for me. And so I am willing to say no thank you to that. I put your will higher than mine. And so today I'm going to say, please bring what you want me to have. I'm not going to have a say in it. I'm not going to try to manipulate it and have it my way, but just let it come the way that you want it. And that is actually one of the ways that He is speaking. He is speaking to us by molding our circumstances, making us walk on the path that we do. He's speaking in practical terms. So if you end up as a dentist and suddenly a great door opens to a job position that is blessing a lot of people, then that is part of how He is speaking. And we just need to give glory for Him, for that kind of thing, and understand that He's spoken. Now before I end, and I promise I will be back and I will be talking about more details of how to really hear God and to communicate with Him and things like that. But before that, I just want to give a prayer. And I think, Father, thank you for being with us. Thank you for seeing each and every one of us. Thank you for bringing us in alignment with your will and to confront us with our unwillingness to see truth and to hear what you say. Because we all have rebellion and resistance and pride and fears and issues, expectations, desires, things that are blocking your pure flow with and through us. And so I'm thanking you, God, that you work with us this week, that you bring up the most important things that we need to work with, the most important issues that we need to deal with in order to come closer to you and to be more able and willing to actually hear what you want to share. Because there is no need of learning a lot of methods of how to hear you if we don't really want to hear what you have to say, is it? It is like sitting with a person with our fingers in our ears saying blah, blah, blah. So thank you, God, that you help us cleanse away everything that is standing in the way from us hearing you. And I thank you also, God, that you prepare us for all the bits that I needed so that we will know how to move forward and how to learn from the inside out, and that it will be your will that is being done. And with that, I say thank you, Father, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Help us get our ears to hear and eyes to see, and a willing heart and a brain that is alert and open for everything that you are bringing. And so with that, this show is over, and I really enjoy talking about these things, and I think that's why time flies. But I will be back next Saturday, same time, which means 10 a.m. in US Pacific area, 1 p.m. in Florida, 18 o'clock in the evening in London, UK, and 19 o'clock in Central Europe. That's on Saturdays. And tomorrow on Sunday, I will have a show at the same time, and it's going to be Prayer Walk, where we follow our prayer walker that is, working her way through the borders of Norway and starting in the mountainous area in the heart of the nation to dedicate the land to God. It's an extremely exciting journey, a little bit different, and it opens up doors for you to become active in your area as well. So if you want to join that, that's on Sundays, same time. And now I'm going to move on to have a private prayer meeting. It's not private in the way that you are not invited. It is just private in the sense that it's not being broadcasted. And so if you hear this and you would like to join us, then you are welcome. Send me a message on freelegions.com, or you can go to Free Legions on Facebook and send a message there, and we will find, how to sort the technical details, because we're doing it through Skype. I also want to give thanks to Kevin MacLeod, who's the one making the music I'm playing. It's free licensed music from Incompetech.com. And until next time I see you, or you hear me, I hope you will have a good time, and know that God, He loves you and He is with you. Be blessed.